Welcome to Carolyn Braden's Turning the Ordinary into the Extraordinary. Today I'm going to show you how to make this simple tulle, feather, and flower fascinator. Make this for a day at church, or make this for a wedding, or just make it because it's beautiful. Here are the items you need for your project. A bodabra. If you don't have a bodabra, you can just create a bow by hand. Some tulle in various colors. I'm using glitter, cream colored, and a blush colored. Some floral wire or bow wire. A 1/2 inch to a 1 inch headband. I'm using a cream colored satin one. Scissors, a high temp hot glue gun, some 1.5 inch ribbon. This is non-wired. Some feathers. I'm using some small white ones. Some artificial flowers. I'm using some hydrangea. Some stiff felt. I'm using a glitter type and a plain piece of white. You also need a 4 to 5 inch circle template or a ruler to measure it out yourself, and a fabric marking pencil. If you don't have a fabric marking pencil, you could also use a crayon or maybe a marker. The first thing I'm going to do is make the fascinator base. I'm going to place my circle template on the back side of the glitter felt and measure out the 4 to 5 inch circle, drawing it with my fabric marking pencil. See? Now I'm going to cut out my circle. Now I'm going to do the same to the plain piece of stiff felt. Now let's glue these two pieces together using some hot glue. Make sure to glue with the pencil side facing each other. That way you can't see any of the pencil or the marker on your actual fascinator. Now let's let this cool down and dry a bit. If you don't want to make this part of the project, that's fine. You can purchase a fascinator base, but fascinator bases can be difficult to get unless you want to order it from online. This is just creating an alternate fascinator base, and you don't even have to use the glitter kind of felt. You can just use plain felt, but I do recommend gluing two pieces together to make it nice and firm, especially if you plan on making a somewhat of a heavy fascinator. Now we want to glue the fascinator base to the headband. You want to put it off to the side just a little bit. Carefully place a little bit of glue onto your headband and place your fascinator base on top of the glue and hold until it is dry. Dum-de-dum-de-dum, holding the fascinator base while it dries. Now that I have the fascinator base glued to the headband, I'm going to cover this inside with a little bit more felt. I got a little bit of glue right here and I don't like how that looks. So the felt will cover that as well as reinforce this to make sure it stays on your headband. To do this, I'm just going to measure out a small square or rectangle of felt and then glue it right over the headband piece. So I measured out about a 3 inch piece, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the back and then put it down. Here's what it looks like so far. It's just a pretty little circle. Let's see what comes next. Now I'm going to glue some feathers over the top of the base. You can skip this step if you want, but this is just how I want mine to look. To glue the feathers, just pick the spot where you want it to go, put a little bit of glue, and then carefully lay the feather down. You can also put the glue onto the feathers. You can use the help of the tip of your scissors so you don't have to touch near the hot glue. I've decided that I want to cover most of my base in the feathers, so you can do this or just add a few or as many as you want. I'm going to put some of mine going up and then some of mine going down to make sure that the entire base is covered. Working with feathers is so much fun. It's a mess, but it'll be worth it, I promise. Now I have all the feathers glued to the Fascinator base, and it looks quite good. I suggest trying this on as you create it, just to make sure that you're getting them all in kind of this circular pattern. Here's the front of it. Here's what it looks like from underneath. And make sure that you get them on the back side too, because everyone is going to be seeing this from all different angles, so you want to make sure all sides look fantastic. Here's what it looks like so far with just the feathers. Now I'm going to make a tulle bow. I'm going to layer my tulle ribbon to create one thick piece of tulle ribbon. I'm going to start by laying out the glitter tulle first, then the blush, and then the cream colored. I'm using 3 pieces for color and for thickness because I want this bow to be really, really thick. So I'm going to use the bow dauber. You do not have to use a bow dauber for this. You can just form this with your hands and then put wire around it. I'm just going to use the bow dauber just to help me make sure that it is perfect. To use the bow dauber, it slides apart, so it's just something to hold this while I make it. So I'm going to start by placing this tulle ribbon into the center of the bow dauber. I want to make this kind of large to make sure that it takes up entire space on my Fascinator. I'm going to say this will probably be about 4 inches. And I'm going to continue to roll out my tulle into this one long continuous strand, bring it around, and I've got what looks like this bow so far. You can see there's this side and this side, making sure that they're even. Then I'm going to continue and go again. And you can use what's called the bow dauber wand to kind of go down like this and make sure it stays down. Then I'm going to go to this side. Make sure that they're all even and fluffed up. Then to this side. So I've got 1, 2, 3 so far on this side. And then 1 loop back this way. You can do this however you want. You can create your own bow. You can just purchase a large bow or flower and put it on your Fascinator instead. You do not have to do it exactly this way. That's the coolness of this project, is that you can make it however you want to make it. Probably 2 more loops. So we'll have 4, 4, 4, and 4. And I'm going to cut this last piece and let that just kind of hang. I forgot to put the wire in first. That's a problem. That's okay. I'm just going to put this down into here, loop it around, and I can bring it up and secure it with the wire. And cut it and tie it in a knot. You can form this again with your hands. I just had the bow dauber on hand, so that's why I wanted to use it. I'm going to tie this in a knot. I've done this without a bow dauber and it worked out just fine. So now we have this big fluffy bow. I'm going to trim that end right here. I think there was a top side I need to trim as well. Then I'm going to fluff it all up. So now I've got this really cool, awesome tulle bow. And trim, I'm going to tie the wire into a knot and then cut it. So there's the tulle bow, and I'm going to attach that to the feathers. To attach this tulle bow to the feathers, I'm simply going to place some hot glue and then set it down. I may need to go in with the hot glue gun afterwards just to add a little bit more, but this will make it stay put. Watch your fingers again and make sure you get it right there on top. Here is what it looks like with just the feathers and the tulle, and I think I've got one more piece to add to it, which is a ribbon right in the center of the tulle. You can leave it like this and it looks really nice from all different angles. For the center bow, I'm going to make it about 3 inches. I did a measurement and just making sure that it doesn't look too large on the top here. You could just purchase a ribbon or a bow already made up, but this is how I'm going to do this. I'm going to put my wire in the center, and you start by just wiggle that ribbon into here, into your bow d'arbre, and I know that this is about the size bow that I want to make, so I've got it going this way and one going this way, making sure you kind of twist this just to make sure that it stays, the print, my print stays on the outside. And since that's not very pretty in the center here, I cut this a little bit long so I could wrap it around and create this really pretty bow. And I'm going to use the hot glue gun to secure this on the back. Cut off the other end that I see. Now I'm going to glue the bow to the center of the tulle kind of nest, just with a little bit of hot glue. You could just leave it like this, it looks nice, but I think we need to add some flowers to it. So now it's time to add the hydrangeas. To get the hydrangeas onto the Fascinator, I've just snipped them off the stalk, and I'm just going to kind of place them wherever I feel like they need to be. I'm not going to put them all on top because I don't want this again to be a nest, so I'm going to put some around the bow and then kind of sporadically around the tulle ribbon in the way that I want to do it. You can do this the way you want to do it. You don't even have to add the flowers or the bow on the top. Just keep doing what you want to do to make it look the way you want it to look. I suggest maybe laying them on first in some areas and then gluing them, just so you can see the placement before it becomes permanent. And it's done, and I love it. I think if I were to go back in time, I would definitely make this to wear in my wedding. I think I just made this to be able to get back into my wedding dress because I love it so much. A lot of fascinators are made with cinema, and cinema can sometimes be hard to get a hold of. So that's why I created this fascinator with all materials that you can get at your local craft store. There are so many possibilities for this project. Make it in a wedding style, the way I made this one, or make it in hot pink, or black, or turquoise, or gold, or whatever colors you want to make it in. Make this your own, and if you do make this, make sure you leave me a note in the comments so I can see that you were inspired by this craft. If you have any questions or comments, just leave it below the video and I'll get back with you as soon as I get a chance. I create all kinds of DIY videos and more, so if you haven't had a chance to subscribe yet, do so now. Thanks for watching Carolyn Braden's Turning the Ordinary into the Extraordinary. Bye!
Visit Carolyn'sBloomingCreations.com